This is Seeing Notes, taste standards and the decisions nobody sees. I'm Roselis, the creator of Seeing Notes, along with my co-host, James. What is the difference between giving someone grace and giving someone access? Do we notice a distinction? Is there a moment when you recognize that you're handing them the key to you,
Right.
tolerating a behavior? So we're going to talk about what we accept today, because what you accept is what you tolerate. And in your tolerance is how you teach others to treat you.
Totally. Yeah, agreed. But then I would think one of the keys is accepting someone for who they are, not trying to change them. So accepting them. And through accepting them, which is obviously very difficult, we accept them for who they are and love them for who they are. Does that mean that we are tolerating it, or we're truly just accepting it and letting it go?
So I think that there are different angles to all of this. I think accepting someone for who they are is key and it's paramount. However, if in that acceptance, what you're doing is allowing a behavior that is trespassing on you, right?
Okay.
It is no longer acceptance. It goes into tolerance that you can then excuse as giving someone grace.
Right.
When what it really is not honoring yourself.
And what's a good example of that, do you think?
Okay, well, interestingly enough, when I was thinking about this topic, the root of this comes from being able to take a look at ourselves. And what I thought about here was I was in a business situation with somebody for a very long time. And we had a business deal that we were going to share all the business that we did. And we were splitting it 50-50. We built a business.
Yeah.
We associated ourselves with one another. And the first couple of years, I was doing a lot of the business. He was sending me the clients or introducing me to the clients. So I was like, okay, this is good because I don't necessarily like to go out and hunt for a client, but I'm great at nurturing the relationship, developing the relationship, and getting to that place where I close the business. So I kept doing all of that, and I would split all the money. There were other times where I ended up giving him all of the commissions because he needed money, and money ended up being owed out of stuff that I did. And my husband would be like, when are you going to let this go? When are you going to accept that this guy is not being truthful?
Right.
And I was like, oh, but he's going through a hard time. Or, oh, but he's a good person. Oh, but he blah, blah, blah. And I made excuse after excuse after excuse after catching him in a lie after another. I walked away. He came back with something else. I accepted it again. It was a whole ordeal. Bottom line is that 10 years into this, not one, not three, 10 years into it, I looked at the pattern and I went, oh, I'm accepting the lies because this is what I learned in childhood.
Okay.
Mother lied and I justified the lie. Because I couldn't tolerate lies. I thought that they were horrific. But because that was my mother's pattern,
Right.
all I could do was justify them so that I, Roselis, could accept it and be able to continue the relationship.
How you digested it, yeah.
So obviously, in this circumstance, I had no real notion that this is what I was doing,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
It didn't come to me until much later. But it was something that I learned to do and that I did for so many years. And I am certain that he was not the first or the only person that this was what took place.
Going on with,
But this is the only one where I saw it so clearly that I was able to face it, confront it, and heal from there. I was able to process that stuff from there. But the conversation here really is about that. Even deeper is about how do we go there and confront ourselves in that situation. Stop making those excuses and stop tolerating the behavior that is completely unacceptable because you justify it in calling it giving someone grace or excusing them because they're a good person. And in lieu, what you're doing is trespassing your own boundaries, your own honor.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, so such an interesting subject because I think it can get a little murky about accepting someone else, accepting them for who they are and what they are. And then you see this repeat pattern going on in your life. And then when does that switch to tolerate? And then maybe there's some resentment that comes up and all of this stuff. And then layer on, where is all of this coming from? Why am I okay with this situation?
Exactly.
So we examine self.
Exactly.
Which is where we should be starting all the time. Like constantly. Okay, a person in my life that I've had a friendship, a little tumultuous, it goes back and forth. But to your point, giving grace and saying, this is who this person is, and not letting that affect me in the sense of, I'm not going to bed with this person physically or figuratively. There's no business relationship. There is a friendship, but the boundary, hard word for me, the boundaries.
That's a hard one for you.
Have to be in place of, I can't absorb and take on, I can't have these things trespass on me and my consciousness and imprint them. I wish this person love and kindness, and I'm sure you do as well. I get it. But refuse to take it on. Accepting this is who they are and this is what they're going through. And then I'll add the suffering and darkness they must be in to do that.
Well, interestingly enough, with this person, we ended up working together in another company after all of this had happened. And he came to me and was very honest about some things that he had done. It had nothing to do with me. And asked for my advice. I never judged him. But when I discovered that after all that honesty, he continued, when that happened, he was banned. He reached out to me and I said, I can no longer have a relationship with you.
Yeah, for sure.
If I am able to, eventually I will call you again. And those were my only words.
Right.
I did not go into a conversation. I did not judge. It was like, no, I can't be a part of this. It's a completely different take into what I had done before.
Yeah.
Which was, how can I help you? What can I do? How do I save you?
Yeah.
How do I change this lie into an acceptable situation?
And do you think because you had this experience from childhood with your parent, obviously that influenced and colored your dealings with this person?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Do you think that since you've grown from this person and you said, I can no longer do this, how has that affected the little girl, Roselis, with her mom, that relationship? It must have healed it in some way.
Well, sure.
It brought it to light.
However, I still know that she lies, and it makes it easier for me to discern the lies. Oh, she's just saying this because she's just going with the flow, instead of me believing that she's actually going to do what she's saying she's going to do to go with the flow.
Okay.
right? I am no longer fooled by her, if you will.
You see it clearly now.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Because the emotions are detached.
I would fall into the trap that she was going to act on whatever it was that she feigned to be the truth. And so I no longer do that. But really, the topic here then comes to what we tolerate, right? And so, as you just said, with this friend, you are able to be all about acceptance because whatever his trespassings are to himself, to others, or whatever, don't influence.
Correct. They don't affect me that way. Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
And so that's really what this is. It's where is that line of I'm allowing you to do something and I'm accepting that or tolerating that. And with my tolerance, I'm showing you how to treat me. Versus
1000%, which is, I think, a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Versus I'm accepting who you are and none of that affects me. They're very different, one from the other.
And depending on the relationship. What if it's easy for us to sit here and talk about this in a friend or business relationship, but what if it's a family member, a partner, your husband, your wife, your children? Those are complicated, intertwined relationships,
Well, as an example, in this parental relationship, I was physically separated early on, but I also had to emotionally and literally cut communication for periods of time in order to be able to discern that bait and switch situation, that sleight of hand that is manipulative,
and you were
that
preserving
I
self.
was not able to see the difference. I used to use the term and I stopped using it probably in that year of healing that I've talked about before. I used to always say I acquiesced. I acquiesced to a lot of things. And did not honor self in many ways. And I have stopped doing that.
But so then how do we stay in a relationship with another human being and not acquiesce? Because there are times, the old adage with any relationship is what's the compromise? So this is kind of that murky area, right?
Yeah, but see, compromise doesn't have to be I give of self in order to be able to be with you. Compromise is, I learned this from a therapist. She used to say to us, okay, you tell her what it is you need. And I would acknowledge that I heard him, but I didn't have to act on any of it.
Okay. Got it.
I acknowledge and I hear you and I respect your feelings. But that doesn't mean that I have to change to please you.
And you shouldn't have to.
He's an amazing cook. And so he pulls out 7 spices. 5 of them go back in the cabinet. The other 2 never do. He cleans up. 3 of the knives will go back on their sleeve and the other one's over there and the sleeve's on the other side. Like this morning, groceries came. He put up 3/4 of them. The other quarter remained on the counter. It's not like there wasn't room and he doesn't know where it is, but that's just the way it is. I'm not going to fight it and I'm not going to try to make him compromise who he is by pleasing me to go put everything up.
Agreed.
No, I come through and in 3 seconds, I finish doing the deal.
So
that's it.
So how do we decipher?
It's not about compromise.
Acceptance of that situation in that essence of it being a simple everyday to do kind of thing. And then a larger item where you're really giving of self and you're creating a tolerance for this thing. And then you're teaching the other person almost a bad behavior towards you. Like well,
I think that it takes a long time to be able to get to those spaces. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, are you willing to give of yourself or give up that part of you Is all the love that you have for this person worth that for you? In a relationship, is 90% of it fine? And is it just 10% tolerance? That's a pretty good average.
1,000%.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you're doing 50-50, where's the joy in that
Correct.
relationship?
That's hard.
Right?
Right.
So is it compromise, really? Because I think that compromise is a really tricky thing. It's just like when people talk about marriage being difficult. It doesn't have to be difficult. It's only difficult if you see it as difficult, if you see the conversations as difficult, if you see the little hurdles that you have to follow behind them in order to clean the kitchen the way that you want it cleaned, instead of insisting upon the person doing what you want them to do. Because then you're asking them to compromise a part of themselves that is not who they are, is whom you want them to be. And we're back out of acceptance.
And that is, so you said a couple of really amazing things. I just have to kind of point them out. Marriage doesn't have to be difficult. It's how you're perceiving all the things that are in the marriage. So that is our life every single day. Life is not difficult. Whatever you're facing, it's just how we're facing it that must change, that we must look at. So that's huge. And you mentioned a while back that there was no judgment, which I thought, what a breath of fresh air, because we are in such a judgment time in life. We judge everything, others, self, politics, religion. It's all on the table right now in more ways, at least in my life, than I've ever experienced. And not having judgments and really discerning acceptance and tolerance. Two separate things,
They're
right?
Two separate things. We want to put them together, but they're two separate.
Agreed. It was so profound. The way we're perceiving these things to not have to be difficult. That transcends to every part of our being. Everything. That is the essence of our being.
It is.
We're perceiving something we think is real. We're perceiving our partner, the relationship, the happiness, instead of really looking at it from a different perspective. Right? So,
and so when we go to this topic, we're really talking about that. It is about, we are respectful of others and we shall accept nothing less than respect from others. Because if that's the way we're looking at others and that's the way we're upon others, with respect, with tolerance, with affection, with all of those things, compassion, then that is exactly what we should accept and nothing else from other.
We should accept, but we cannot have the expectation that others can give that.
No, we can't have that expectation. But what happens is, if we tolerate it,
agreed,
then we are justifying,
teaching them it's
we
okay.
are teaching, and then we are showing them how to treat us.
You know, all the teachings, all the understanding, we carry it every day with us. We know inside. We may have not tapped into it yet, but it's there. Lead by example. You may not need to say something to somebody. We could sit down and talk to viewers and have them listen over and over, and it may not resonate. Regardless of the point, if we live our lives thus, in compassion and respect, then that will influence others. And a teacher told me that 25, 30 years ago. By example, people will be around you and see the way you react to something, the way you react to a conversation or react to another living being on the street. Yeah.
I firmly believe that that is the way we teach. It's not what we say. It's not even how we share with our audience. It's really, if you see us outside of here, you see that this is what we do.
Correct.
That this is how we are in our lives. At least for me, that's how it is. It's something that was taught to me from very early on. It's not what you say is what you do, right?
So
when you get people to work with you, you're working in a team, You can't be one saying, do this, do that, do the other, if you yourself cannot do it or are not willing
Correct.
to do it. So when you work as a leader in a group, I am going to jump behind the board to do whatever. I'm the one that's going to go make the coffee. I'm the one that's going to go do this. I will jump into whatever and do whatever it takes because it's a collective.
I was just going to say the collective.
It is not a I tell you,
Correct.
you go do, and I stand over here as a director.
Correct.
So it's all the same concept.
Yeah, correct.
So we show and we act and we do, and that's how
We can influence others to be the same.
Exactly.
How do we separate the expectation of, right, the topic, acceptance?
It's really what we tolerate from others.
And we're
It's what we teach them on how to treat us.
So how do we, if we're in a relationship, we're tolerating these behaviors, whatever they may be, how do we start working on that? If they're not picking up the cues by leading by example or learning by the example we're setting, what's another way do we think? Do we think, I definitely not having the expectation that they're going to get it because they may not. We say, and this is quick left turn, karma's real. We said we are all created equal, meaning that all living beings, bigger statement, right, are equal. No hierarchy. But karmically, we are in different spiritual places at different times in life.
Everybody is.
So your partner, your boss, your child, your neighbor, colleague, whomever it is that you're interacting with, and you're taking this shit on that you're tolerating, right? They may not get it, right? But how do we handle that in our life when we're dealing with somebody that we can't, they're not getting it from us, that we're taking on this shit from them. And at some point, I guess the answer is we have to be aware of it and then step out of it. Right? I mean, that's really the only way, right?
Absolutely.
And that's hard to do with a marriage. That's hard to deal with children. It's hard. Exactly. It's hard to deal with, I'm going to say, really, your boss. Okay, find another job. Your friend, get another friend if you can't work through it. Right. But, yeah, when it's your partner in life, I think, yes. Could you get a divorce? Absolutely. I'm not saying anybody get a divorce, but awareness and then stepping out of it, at least to examine what's truly going on. What am I emotionally attached to? What do I need to let go? Where did this influence come from? Because I have my own. I'm a people pleaser. Even though I am and I'm not, but I am. I'm not going to go into my mother's stories. But, part of it comes from that. Me trying to please her has definitely imprinted on me trying to please others in a certain way. There is a part of me that wants everybody to be happy and please them. And then when they're not, I'm upset or it affects me. I'm just kind of letting that go because I'm realizing it. Well, that was me, a little kid trying to please my mother who was friggin' nuts. So yeah.
It's funny because I made an example a couple of days ago. I said, I've always been so positive that I'm that person that's getting handcuffed and thrown in. And I'm like, it's all going to be okay. It's not a big deal. Because I was always justifying behavior the behavior that was taking place in my house that for me was so disturbing that all I wanted to do was hide in the closet.
Yeah.
So I gave everything a positive spin in order to be able to tolerate. And so I have a really fine line that I have to constantly watch out for.
Have awareness of.
Is this something that I'm denying? Because in that denial, I'm going to turn it into a positive spin in order to be able to tolerate this?
Correct.
Or is this really something that I'm facing and I'm realizing it's life?
Yeah.
This is happening.
And you're okay with it.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Agreed. No, but that's awareness. I think, again, we go back to really having a discussion with self. And as soon as you have those feelings come up, examine them.
But it's the same because what we tolerate from others, we teach them how to treat us. When we realize that we're in a loop and we're tolerating the same thing from different ways, or we're acting in a manner that allows us to justify these other behaviors in order to accept, because we don't want to let go of the relationship, because it is a family member and we don't want to let that go. It's because it's a job that pays so much money that we don't want to let go of the money.
Or we can't afford to. Yeah.
Sure, but there's got to be a way for you to find something in this day and age that you're going to be able to do that's going to replace that and not sacrifice of self. But you have to take a look at where your part is in it, because we always have a part in it.
For sure. Yeah. I love your example of people pleasing and spinning something positive that could possibly be detrimental to us. And we're just kind of just saying, okay, I'm going to make this a positive thing, which is not bullshit, but kind of is when we're doing that in a sense, right? If it
Well, I mean, where do you think that my whole thing about no regrets comes from? It's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's let's find a spin. Are you for real? Yes, because that's my way of dealing with things.
Yeah.
But I have to understand that that's what I do. And so then I need to examine,
Why?
am I giving it that?
Right.
Is this acceptance that I'm teaching this other human being?
And teaching yourself.
Does it come from that?
Yeah.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You have to question that, right?
Sure. Yeah. You're teaching yourself this is okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Agree.
But it's when you're in that loop, you need to get the why, right?
Or question it. You know? Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
And it doesn't mean not being good or accepting or
Of
loving.
others. Yeah.
It's actually the opposite. We're saying the complete opposite, but give yourself that grace as well.
First. We have to go first, right?
And that's where we're going in our next episode.
Yeah.
It's a whole
That's where we're going.
a whole thing. Woohoo! So, anything else you want to bring up on this?
The word compassion, I think our viewers, listeners by now, that audience, that I use the word a lot. And I truly mean this.
What
Compassion.
What are you saying? Oh,
Right? Because it is love, the truest form of love. We try to have compassion for all living beings, right? If we can learn to have compassion in this situation for the other, I'm not saying be a doormat and accept this, but really know the other person's suffering, then a lot of that anger, hurt, frustration, whatever dissipates. So just be aware of that kind of simultaneously.
So this week, notice a relationship where you're accepting something you would never accept from a stranger. Just notice it and do nothing. It's in the noticing that your standard begins.
Okay.
This is Seam Notes, luxury from the inside out. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Thanks for joining us.